You know that feeling when you finish a story and you just forget it? Yeah, that's usually because the storyteller forgot to ask this one question. And the question is this: what's the worst thing that could possibly happen to my character? And how could that worst thing become the best thing that ever happened to them? I know it sounds simple, but this one question turns ordinary stories into unforgettable ones. And it doesn't just apply to fiction, it's the same principle behind why the most powerful moments in life stick with us. Hello, I'm Miguel Parga. I'm best-selling author of What They Didn't Teach You in Film School and Make Your Own Movies. I've been teaching filmmaking for over 18 years. So let's start with a quick thought experiment. I want you to imagine an artist whose entire identity is color. Her life is color. All she does is paint, recreate the beauty of the world. Then she loses her sight. Her world goes dark. Now, for a painter, what could possibly be worse, right? But here's the twist. She starts to sculpt. Her hands begin to see emotion and texture in ways her eyes never could. And somehow that loss gives birth to art that's more alive than anything she's ever made before. That's the magic question at work. The worst becomes the seed of the best. Once you spot it, you start seeing it everywhere. Take a movie like Saving Private Ryan. The worst thing in Saving Private Ryan is, I would say, obvious, right? The chaos of war. It's messy, brutal, meaningless, bloody. 8 men risking their lives to save one. It almost feels pointless. But then there's that scene at the end. Captain Miller looks at Ryan in the eyes and says, "Earn this." Suddenly the chaos has meaning. The pain, the sacrifice, it all transforms into purpose. The horror of war becomes the reason one man lives with intention. That's the worst becomes the best framework in action. Inside the chaos, inside the ugliness, there's purpose and meaning. Now, switch gears. Let's look at something like Titanic. My students know I love using this example because it's so in your face, right? Titanic's a total tragedy, right? Ship sinks, Jack dies, end of story. Not quite. Because for Rose, the protagonist of Titanic, that loss is the story. Before the Titanic, she's trapped in this life of luxury where she's really in a prison. Jack's death forces her to live, to really live. The worst thing, losing him, becomes the thing that sets her free. Those photos at the end, by the bed of the old woman, they're proof that she kept her promise to never let go. Not of Jack, but of herself. Inside of all that death, Rose found life, her life, and it turned the tragedy into a triumph. In both Titanic and Saving Private Ryan, one thing to note as well is that the entire story is told as a flashback. Okay, we meet these characters when they're old, they've achieved that purpose in their lives, and now we're looking at the story from that vantage point. And that's it's important for those movies because it's really putting weight on the transformation. It's telling you this is not about that tragedy that happened, it's about this new human being that is now in front of you. Let's go even darker. Take a movie like The Silence of the Lambs, one of my favorites of all time. Now, this is a dark movie. But inside of that darkness, there's light. Inside of this unspeakable horror, there's beauty. For Clarice Starling, the worst thing is staring into evil itself. Hannibal Lecter, Buffalo Bill. the trauma of her own childhood. But by confronting it, by confronting all of it head on, she doesn't just catch the killer, she finally silences the screams that haunted her since she was a kid. Her greatest fear becomes the doorway to her peace. The darkness she runs towards becomes the light that frees her. Inside of this movie full of horror, at its heart, there's a beautiful story of a little girl trying to save a little lamb. That's the core of it. And that's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it work. Actually, a few years back, a student of mine contacted me asking me for advice. He was about to shoot a thriller and he said, "What should I be looking out for?" And I told him this story about the Silence of the Lambs. Inside of the horror, there is something beautiful. This is what gives the story shape. It gives it balance. It's like the yin yang symbol, right? For every dark energy, there's the positive opposite. And inside of those energies, if you look at the symbol, the little dot inside of the wave, it tells you inside of the light, there's darkness. Inside of the darkness, there's light. So, how do you use this in your own storytelling? Very good. Step number 1, identify your character's biggest strength, their belief, their value, the thing that sets them apart from everybody else. Now, take that away completely. That's the worst thing. Step number 2, ask how that loss could force them to grow into something deeper, something better. The story isn't about avoiding pain, it's about being transformed by the pain. The artist that loses their sight and learns to feel. The soldier that faces chaos and finds meaning. The FBI agent that faces monsters and finds peace. That's the formula behind every great story arc. And honestly, it's also how we grow in real life. Here's the deeper truth. Transformation doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in catastrophe. The worst moments in your story are where the real story starts, because that's where we stop pretending and we start becoming something else. So I want to hear from you. What's a movie, show, or book that absolutely nails this worst to best transformation? Drop it in the comments. And if this concept clicked for you, you're going to love my new mini course, From Myth to Masterpiece, the hidden code behind every great story. It's a short, practical, deep dive on how to take any idea, even a meh one, and rebuild it using this transformation framework. If you're a creator, writer, or a filmmaker who wants your stories to actually stick, the link is down below. Captain Miller's sacrifice, Rose's love, Clarice's courage, all of them prove the same thing. The worst thing that happens to you might be the best thing that happens for you. That's not just storytelling, that's life. And that's how you turn your story from meh to masterpiece. See you in the next one.